Greetings, brothers and sisters, kings and queens. Pastor Troy Wynn Sr. here, Senior Pastor of the Freedom Church, with a state of address for our congregation as well as our family and friends that follow our ministry. All of you by now have seen the chaos and calamity that occurred yesterday in Washington, D.C. at the Capitol. I wanted to take a few minutes to try to provide some guidance. And I've taken some time to pray because I did not want to be regurgitating or echoing what is and what has already been said. During my prayer time this morning, I sincerely feel like God gave me something to say that I want to share with those of you that follow our ministry, especially our congregation and our members, including our youth who watch the news and are concerned about the direction of our country, concerned about what they're seeing and trying to make sense of it. And we share this with our family and friends who follow us as well. I want you to know that what we are viewing, not just yesterday, but this year, and when I say this year, I mean literally 2020, not 2021, has been an intoxication of power, in my opinion. And this intoxication of power has run its gamut on both sides of the political field. Not only has it run its gamut on both sides of the political field, but it's also run its gamut in the church. I've seen more power struggles in 2020 than I've seen my entire life. Yesterday was the culmination of an addiction to power. And that addiction to power has fully exposed the divide that runs through America. 2020 was the year of clarification and the year of revelation. Things were exposed. We saw things. We saw people in different lights. We saw people in different venues. We saw people from different angles that we were not accustomed to seeing people. And for many of us, it caused a tremendous conflict which has led to division. And it is a division that must be confronted. In a country that is divided, somebody has to diffuse that division and unite those whose eyes and hearts are open. We can't continue to just be divided because we are divided. In a nation that is clearly coming apart at its political seams, I believe that now is the perfect time that we must pull that very same nation together with cords that are made of our human fibers and not our political agendas or our political affiliations. We cannot, and I want to be very clear when I say this, there is no way we cannot stay in this space and we cannot operate in this spirit much longer. 2020 was enough. 2021 is a perfect time for us to confront that space and that spirit and recognize that we, the people, must get out of that space expeditiously. We must get out of that space expeditiously because it is detrimental to our country. It's detrimental to our society. It's detrimental to our communities. And I don't know if we're paying attention, but it's really detrimental to our children. Our children who are already struggling with the academic shift and the parameters of school via online or in class in the presence of COVID-19 are now once again having to try to make sense of what is wrong with America. And when we say America, it really boils down to what is wrong with its people. I will tell you this, and it's a known fact that we will never agree on all things. As a black African American Christian who believes in liberty and justice for all, who believes in the fight for civil rights, who believes for the equal and fair treatment of all human beings, there are those who believe in the same things that I believe in, who are of my color and some who are not of my color, and yet we cannot agree on all of the tenements around those very same issues. Here's what we must do, because we will never agree on all things. We must agree to disagree while remaining united as a people, as a country, and as a nation, because we are going to have our differences. But in a nation where we cannot have our differences without there being destruction and without there being division, that is a nation that will not last long. It's a nation that will not progress. It's a nation that is literally toxic and unhealthy. We don't have to hurt each other. Period. We don't. We can have different views, different perspectives, different opinions, different ideologies. We can be called to represent different issues, but we don't have to hurt each other. Not physically. We don't have to hurt each other. We do have to hear each other. The reason why I said not physically is because sometimes feelings get hurt when people express how they feel. And that's okay. That's okay. But we don't have to physically hurt each other. But we do have to hear each other. So I was informed just yesterday, something I was already privy to, but as they say, got it firsthand from the horse's mouth yesterday, that several of my white evangelical brothers and sisters who a year ago were enamored with me and head over heels in love with me and would travel near and far to hear me speak, don't like me anymore. And the reason why I was told that they don't like me, and they say that they don't like me, because in 2020 I stood for some things, I said some things that they just didn't agree with. I stood for the education and the empowerment of black people. I highlighted the history of white America in an attempt to educate African Americans so that we could learn from history and adapt, evolve, and overcome. That being said, it's okay. It's okay not to be liked. It's okay for me not to like something that you say or something you do or something you believe. But what's not okay is for us to physically assault one another or to physically destroy each other's property. That's not okay, because that is the most uncivilized way to have a disagreement. In 2021, you and I both must push past the politics, and we must reach for each other. No matter how uncomfortable it is, no matter how much discipline it's going to take, we have got to push past the politics, and we got to reach for each other. And that means reaching for each other with forgiveness, reaching for each other, being fully aware of what has been said, what has been done, but being willing to forgive, fully understanding that if we don't move forward, we're going to be stuck in this very same place 2021, 2022, 2023, and so forth and so on. I want to encourage Freedom Church members to cease and desist all arguments with individuals who think differently, believe differently, have a different point of view politically. Let's not argue on Facebook. Let's not go back and forth on social media. That is not the place for our discourse. Let us recognize that we are dealing with an enemy that is not physical. And it's obvious the hate and the hostility in America, period, is tangible and toxic. What's even worse is that that same hate and hostility has seeped over into the church. And there too, it is tangible and it is toxic. A poll in June of 2020 showed that 82% of Americans say that the nation as a whole is more divided than united. I'm willing to venture out and say that that 82% shot up quite a bit after yesterday's incident. With every negative interaction, and this is what we have to think about, those of us who are open-minded. Now, those that are closed-minded, all we can do is pray for individuals who fall into that category. But those of you who are open-minded, those of you who truly have a heart for God, even though we don't always agree on the various tenements of the issues that we're passionate about, we all have to recognize that with every negative interaction and every ugly altercation about immigration and racial injustice and police brutality, every time we have a public discourse, it is proof that America is aching. America is aching, and we the people are going to have to do more than argue. Whether you're Democratic or whether you're Republican or Independent or whatever your political affiliation may be, I want to remind you that we all have one common enemy. One common enemy. It's not the donkey, it's not the elephant, it's not Biden, it's not Trump. We have one common enemy, and it's Satan. And he is so smart, so wise, so conniving, that he's a master of pitting us against each other, because he knows that a house divided against itself cannot stand. There's a spiritual war being waged, and it's not a spiritual war that's based on the issues. You say, well, you believe in this and you believe in that. That's a spiritual war. No, this spiritual war goes beyond the issues that we disagree on. This spiritual war is a war for the mind and the soul of every individual that is in conflict in our country. Here's what I want to encourage us all to do. I want to encourage every single one of us, especially those of us who are believers and people of faith. Let's all seek God's face for understanding, for peace, and ultimately faith in God. Somewhere along the way, I think we've made an inherent error. Somewhere along the way, I think we have decided to put more faith in man, more faith in people, more faith in government than in God. And I know for a fact that we can do better. I can do better, you can do better, we all can do better. We can do better in our thoughts, we can do better in our actions, we can do better in our responses. And yes, we are human beings. We will have our moments. But after we have our moments, there should be something within us that reminds us that this is bigger than us. That behind the scenes, if you pull back the veil, there's a spiritual war going on. And it's not about the issues. I know a lot of people think it is. No, it's about the individuals. And we got to be mindful that we can do more together, even when we disagree, even when we can't come together on certain points of views, that if we can stand together as human beings, as we can stand together as people, if we can stand together as men and women, then we will get much more accomplished in this country, in this world, than we have gotten accomplished being divided. We are only as divided as we choose to be. Period. You and I both have a choice to make. How divided are we going to continue to be? In our spirits, in our hearts, in our minds, in our views, in our unity, in our union? because this division, it is going to be the death of us as a people. I want you to do what I have chosen to do. I choose to trust God the next 4 years just like I did the last 4 years. That's right. Regardless of who you voted for, regardless of who is sitting in the White House as the president, you're really going to have to trust God. Period. The same God that got us through the last 4 years will get us through the next 4 years. Why? Because God is faithful. The word says that if his people who are called by his name would humble themselves and pray, that he would respond. He would hear our prayers. He would come and heal our land. He would enable us to do what we could not do without him. I repeat, just maybe, we're all putting too much hope, too much faith, and too much trust in a man and in a woman, and not enough hope, not enough faith, not enough trust in God. I labeled this message, I have my fig. I'm hoping today that you will declare with me that you have your fig. FIG is an acronym that I created this morning. It simply stands for Faith in God. I have my fig, my faith in God. I suggest you do the same, because we're going to need to have our faith in him irregardless of what happens from one day to the next. I found that faith in God is the only way to live in this world. Pastor Troy Wynn Sr., Senior Pastor of the Freedom Church, delivering my own state of address to the body of Christ, to Freedom Church members, family and friends, and those that follow our ministry, and those that may appreciate a different perspective in light of what we're seeing right now. Have a blessed day.